So in the early 2000s, when Porsche decided to get into the SUV market, it wasn't met with all positive fanfare. But if you fast forward to today, the SUV introduction into the Porsche lineup has really solidified the company and brought it to where it is today. In fact, having SUVs in the lineup enabled Porsche to continue its motorsports program and continuing to fine-tune what it brings in the sports car world. Today, we have the car that's responsible for a third of the sales for Porsche, and that is the Macan. What we're looking at behind us is a 2021 Macan S, and I have the key, and I get to take it out for a 1-mile review. Be sure to log into your YouTube account, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a video. Best of all, it's free to do so. So here we have a 2021 Macan S in a gorgeous color. This is carmine red. Believe it or not, you don't see carmine red or a red SUV for that matter very often. And I think that might be because this was a $3,100 option for this color, for this vehicle. A telltale sign that you're looking at a Macan versus a Cayenne, what I usually do is I just look at this little area here of the headlight, and if there's no hood line right here, and it's a one-piece hood, you know it's a Macan. This is a Gen 2 Macan. You'll notice the handsome chin spoiler that it has. On the back, you'll notice that it has joined the tail lights from two individual lights into sort of a cross single piece, which I think is also very handsome. This one here rides on staggered wheels. I believe they are 20-inch wheels front to back. You'll notice that this also has a steel sprung suspension versus an optional air suspension. Now this is an S. You've gone up from the base Macan, which would have had a 2-liter single turbo engine. Now you've moved up to a 3-liter twin turbo engine that cranks out about 348 horsepower. That's a lot for a medium-sized SUV, and hopefully when we start it up, you'll hear how amazing it sounds. We'll take a look at the interior in a bit, but I immediately noticed this vehicle has roof rails. For those of you that are maybe the outdoor adventurous type that's going to put skis or put bikes on your Macan, make sure that you get the roof rails already on the car so that you can connect them and put all your equipment on top of it. From what I have been told, if you don't have these already from the factory, it's much more difficult to get a roof system on the car. You'll have to do some sort of roof system that'll clamp to the side and might touch the paint and stuff. So again, if you're doing outdoor stuff and you want to put stuff on the roof, make sure the one that you buy has the factory rails already attached. Again, the back end of the Gen 2 Macan is probably one of my favorites, where it's, you know, a modern update where they attach the two side lights into one piece here. For those of you that don't know, to open it, you just click the button right at the wiper, automatically goes up. Plenty of storage space for your golf clubs or luggage or whatever you might need for that weekend getaway. So as with all Macans, some people might say to you, well, isn't it just an Audi Q5 that's dressed up like a Porsche? That is absolutely wrong. Probably the only thing that they share is actually the chassis. Everything else about the car, the motors, the transmission, the trim, everything about it has been massaged or redefined by Porsche. It is not a rebadged Q5. Now this particular car also has, what I love is the piano black trim versus a chrome or satin chrome look. I think this is very sporty. It goes very well with the carmine red. Oh, I love that new car smell, all this leather. All right, buckle up for safety. Everything looks familiar. My hand drops to the left because I know the controls for the seats are going to be right there. And keyless, so it still has the physical fake key that you twist, which I love. Give it a couple throttle blips so you can hear what it sounds like on cold start. All right, so let's talk about the interior a little bit. Very familiar. Porsche, the steering wheel, 3-spoke design with the roly-poly knobs here that you can adjust all the different screens. I do like the contrast tachometer. That's pretty cool. The steering wheel is a little bit low for me. So interesting that this car does not have like an electronic steering column adjustment. It's one of those levers that you pull down. So that's good shape. Now, for those of you that like buttons, this Macan has lots of buttons on the center stack. I love the buttons because you can feel and know what you're grabbing for there. You've got the sport button, you've got heated seats. I love the PCM, nice and large. That way you can connect via Apple CarPlay. But they've done a great job with maximizing the interior space, even though the overall footprint of a Macan is smaller than a Cayenne. All of the leather on the dash looks great, the stitching. This is not a base model, it's not a GTS, it is an S. So as far as options, I see that it's kind of also optioned middle of the row as well. This has the Bose stereo and not, say, the Burmeister. It doesn't have contrast stitching, it's just clean, you know, same color stitching, leather seats. I like the piano black. I think I've said this before. You know, piano black or the stainless steel look, the silver look, that's what I like. As far as putting wood in here, not my cup of tea. This has a panoramic roof that I do like that, because once you're inside, even for the passengers in the back, when you open it all up, it gives it a really open feeling. We're gonna start off and just let the PDK do its thing, although you can use the paddle shifters. 348 horsepower in a SUV, a small SUV at that, plenty of power. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this sort of package comes together in terms of power, weight, size. If there's turbo lag, I can't really feel it. It pulled smoothly and linearly. The ride is very compliant. We don't have it in sport mode. Go around the corner, solid, comfortable. These seats, oh my gosh, these are really comfortable seats. They hug you in all the right places. And I love the fact that when you lean your head back on these seats, your head meets the headrest right away and you're not, you know, tilting your head all the way back. Very comfortable. Going through these turns here, car is very balanced. Not super exciting. Let's charge down this hill with a little bit more power. So it propels you forward, good amount of power. Sports car-like, that might be stretching it. It's definitely a very capable vehicle. It doesn't sit as high as most SUVs, and that's a good thing. I think being a little bit lower kind of helps retain its sporting character. The suspension on here is very docile on this road here. This is just your standard steel spring suspension versus optioning it up with a air suspension. You know, you do get a lot more settings and ride capabilities with an air suspension. But one thing to consider by going with the steel suspension is it's a much simpler suspension. So over long-term ownership, perhaps having the steel spring suspension works in your favor, because as you know, anything that is holding air, containing air, those types of suspensions, at some point they do fail. And I think the reliability of a coil spring unit might be attractive to many of you. All right, so we're coming up to our mile and we're gonna do a quick U-turn and we'll put it in sport mode, and then we'll try the manual shifting with the paddles. First gear, hit it. Ooh, now what I do love is, man, that it's got some pickup. It's got some pickup, but I like the little like bark it did when it changed gears there. That's man, that's not normal coming out of an SUV. So I can totally take control of the shifting via paddles. I don't know that that is necessary. I guess if you were to take this on track, you might find those are necessary, but just leaving it in its normal mode, it seems to make the right choices, and they're seamless shifts, lightning fast shifts. The brakes on here are the standard steel brakes. They aren't ceramic. I like the feel of them. Sometimes ceramics can be a bit grabby. let's give it a nice stop here and see how it holds. Yeah, it feels good. We're gonna drop it down to first gear, give it a launch. Man, it's quick, but I don't know, maybe because of the size and because we're in an SUV, I think it masks a lot of the speed. The owner was telling me how he was taking it on a trip and cruising along on the highway. He was doing speeds well above the speed limit and he didn't even realize it. This is a very comfortable car. I mean, I would say if you had to choose one Porsche to do everything, this might be a strong contender. Yeah, it's a Porsche that can do it all. No wonder they sell so many of them and it's responsible for a third of the Porsches that are sold. All right, so our 1 mile review has come to an end. It's time to rate this 2021 Macan S. So the first rating has to do with taking it to a car show, say on a Saturday or Sunday morning. You know, it's an SUV, so you can't expect that it would be at the front row. This carmine red though does pop. So you'd probably be closer to the front than the middle of the parking lot. I would say from a car show perspective, I would give this a 5. I think that's about right. As far as a daily driver, it's hard to think of anything better for this as being a daily driver. Like I said earlier, it ticks all the boxes in terms of comfort, power, speed. This has all-season tires, so you could probably go through light snow in it. It's all-wheel drive, plenty of room in the back. So this one's gonna do very well in terms of daily driver. I'm gonna give this one a solid 9. As far as long road trips, this will also score very high for the same reason that it does very well as a daily driver. I would say this by 8.5. 8.5. I think for the long trips, if I had a little bit more power and if I had a little bit more sporting stuff, either equipped with a sportier suspension or stickier tires or something like that, it might make a long road trip a little bit more fun, but it's pretty darn good as a long road trip. Fun factor, it's tough when you're trying to do everything well. You're trying to be a sports car, be a reasonable SUV. You land kind of in that middle spot. So as far as fun factor, I would say it's probably about a 5. So right in the middle. So if you agree with that, let us know on the comments below. I really hope you enjoyed this 1 mile review. Be sure to like, comment, and let us know how you think we're doing. Until next time, thank you.